Hello and welcome to Business 360. I'm Shireen Bhan. The headlines that we're tracking for you this evening. The market snaps a three-day winning streak, ends in the red for the second week in a row. IT stocks along with financials drag the benchmark indices in trade today. Reliance Industries lifts the Nifty, which ends just above 23,200. Wipro posts healthy numbers in Q3. Constant currency revenue growth comes in at 0.1% higher than its guidance. Also announces a change in capital allocation policy to increase employee payout to 70% or more of three-year profit. 2 weeks ago, for the union budget, the finance ministry is actively looking at sweeteners under the new income tax regime to boost consumption demand. Sources say options of hike in the standard deduction limit and tweaks in the tax slabs are on the cards. That's an exclusive. Cabinet grants approval for refarming idle spectrum available with multiple ministries. This will help allocate 687 megahertz of excess spectrum to telecom companies for better 5G and 6G rollouts. Prime Minister Modi opens India's biggest auto show, pitches it as an investment destination, says India's EV market will grow eightfold by 2030. 34 manufacturers showcase over 100 new launches to the public. Israeli media reports the cabinet is set to vote on the much-anticipated Gaza ceasefire deal today, even as the country's far-right security minister threatens to quit if the deal goes through. Trump says the ceasefire deal had better be done before he takes oath on Monday. New US H-1B visa norms kick in from today. Recent changes mean employers will have to pay 70% more for beneficiaries on H-1B petitions and will see a significant escalation in the wage bill and legal costs. Indian IT giants, however, say that their dependence on H-1B visas has reduced significantly since they focus more on local hiring and leveraging technological advances. India's highest sporting honour for Olympic medalist Manu Bhaker, chess prodigy Gukesh and hockey player Harmanpreet Singh and Paralympic gold medalist Praveen Kumar. President Murmu confers the Major Dhyan Chand Khel Ratna Awards on them. 32 athletes received the Arjuna Awards. All of that is coming up for you, but first to the market action of the day. They snapped the three-day winning streak, ending in the red for the second week in a row. IT stocks along with financials dragged the markets lower today. Prashant is standing by now to take us through the market action, but that's the story. It is red across the board. 1,000-point cut on the Nifty IT. Nifty banged down by about 750 points, 430 points low on the Sensex, and the Nifty down by about 100 points. Closing in the red for the week, Prashant.
Well, if you remember, same time last Friday, we were talking about how brutal a week it was. Indices, frontline indices had corrected between 2 and 3%. Small cap index last week was down 7.5%. This week, much smaller, just in terms of ranges, so as to speak. The Nifty down about 1, Bank Nifty down 0.5%. Mid cap and small cap indices Friday to Friday actually almost unchanged, but slightly in the green, just under about 0.25% higher each. And I think this was, good news, but you could also make the point that there was no great recovery as such. We are in a bit of a holding period, and that's the way the market is traded going into next week, which is a big one. I'll get to that in just a bit. But let me just recap today's action. The Nifty up on your screen, the Nifty Bank. Nifty Bank, of course, has been the much more weaker of the two indices. On the downside, the lows to track really is what were made in the beginning of the week, which is Monday's lows for the Nifty and the Nifty Bank. Both are, of course, not there yet, even despite today's correction. Mid-cap and small-cap indices, a little better. Broader market breadth was more evened out, 1:1 overall market breadth. On the large caps, gains coming through in Reliance Industries in response to numbers. BPCL did well. Hindalco, Coal India, these are all resource companies. Bharat Electronics and Nestle were the other two, which looked okay. Losses in Infosys, Axis Bank, both reacting to numbers. Shriram Finance, Kotak Bank, Mahindra & Mahindra and ICICI Bank were some of the others. Kotak, of course, reports numbers over the weekend. In the broader market, lots of gainers, but smaller names. But we kind of sort of sorted this with volume. BLS was the number one volume-led gainer. HAL had a decent day. Aeroflex was up 20 yesterday, another 10 today. NBCC, Bharat Dynamics, GSFC, Bajaj Healthcare, big move. I mean, last 4-5 days now, and I think it was up over 15% today. Hindustan Copper, Manappuram was a mover, 6%. Ashapura Mindchem, MFI, company like Satin was also up sharply on very large volumes. Cuts, well, Kalyan continues to lose. It's the big damage we've seen over the course of the last 5, 6, 10 days. 6% gone today again. Policy Bazaar has continued to sell off. SW Solar, 10 higher yesterday and reversed most of it today. Yatharth Hospitals, Shakti Pumps, Aegis Logistics, PG Electroplast and K Fintech were some of the other names which saw some profit booking. It's all really going down to the wire in terms of what Trump will do when he takes off. Monday evening, late evening is when that will happen. US markets are shut then, but news flow will be abundant, which we'll be reacting to. And of course, top of mind is the scale of tariffs and how those tariffs will be implemented. Could meaningfully move one way or the other, which of course consequently will be important for well. So that's a setup as we look forward to that big session on Monday. Back to you.
Prashant, many thanks for joining us. And of course, the Trump money market. The rupee remains steady against the dollar in trade today. However, $1 still costs about 87 rupees. The RBI has liberalized key regulations under the Foreign Exchange Management Act. This will accounts overseas to receive export proceeds and use them to pay for imports. Let's shift focus to China. The country's economy expanded by 5.4% in Q4, beating markets as turbocharged activity in the last quarter of 2024. According to China's National Statistics Bureau, the country's full-year GDP growth expanded to 5%. In December, retail sales and industrial output expanded on an annualized basis on the back of stimulus measures. On to CNBC TV 18 exclusive. With just 2 weeks to go for the union budget, the finance ministry is actively looking at sweeteners under the new income tax regime. Sources tell us that a hike in the standard deduction limit and tweaks in the tax slabs are being considered. Timsy standing by with more. Timsy, what kind of relief can we expect or hope for?
Well, that's right. What we are given to understand from sources is that the government currently is actively considering personal income tax breaks to spur consumption demand and to boost the economy. Government currently is studying two options on tax breaks, and any decision will look to make only the new tax regime more attractive, is what sources say. Now, some of the options that are there on the cards for a tax relief. Firstly, option 1, to increase the standard deduction limit from 75,000 rupees per annum, which is the current limit, anything up till 1 lakh rupees, and it could be in any proportion, either 75 to be made 80, 85, 90, 95, or even 1 lakh rupees per annum. That is something that is yet to be decided. Secondly, this particular option is to move the slabs in the new tax regime. Now, here government is considering two options. Firstly, to expand the 20% tax slab to cover income between 12 lakh and 18 lakh rupees, or even going beyond 18 lakh rupees till 20 lakh rupees. Remember, currently this slab is 12 lakh to 15 lakh rupees, where the tax rate is 20%. And then as a follow-up to this, since the 20% slab will move, follow-up will be the movement on the 30% slab as well, which is also an option, where it feels that then as a follow-up, 18 lakh rupees or 20 lakh rupees and above could be the income bracket for the higher tax rate, that is of 30%, which currently is at 15 lakh plus. So let's see what happens finally, because sources indicated that government believes tax breaks will mean more disposable income. It will boost the spending power. Plus, this increased spending power by the common man will help recovery in both direct taxes and GST collections. But just to remind our viewers that a final call on the tax break proposals will be taken up by both Finance Ministry and PMO only closer to the budget. It is taken only 1 or 2 days before the budget, and email queries sent to the North Block on this particular story have remained unanswered. So let's see what Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman announces on the 1st of February. Back to you.
All right, Timsy, many thanks for joining us. Now, the Cabinet has approved the refarming of idle spectrum available with multiple ministries. This will help allocate 687 megahertz of excess spectrum to telecom companies for better rollout of 5G and 6G services. Ashmit is standing by with more. Ashmit, take us to the implications of this move for the telecom sector.
Well, a big leg up in terms of spectrum availability. Bear in mind that the current spectrum that is currently available is 900 megahertz. This is far short of the 2000 megahertz that has been prescribed by the industry. That's what the industry is saying, that the industry will require 2000 megahertz by 2030. So clearly a big deficit there, 1100 megahertz. Now, this was a consideration that was placed before the DOT, subsequently before the cabinet. The question that was raised is that a number of ministries, the likes of Defense, INB, ISRO, have spectrum assigned to them for administrative purposes. The question question asked was, is it being used efficiently or is it lying idle? The question is, a vast amount of spectrum, 687 megahertz to be specific, has been lying idle, and the decision has been made, approved now by the cabinet, that this 687 megahertz of spectrum, which is lying with various government departments and ministries, can be farmed back to the DoT, which takes the total available spectrum from 900 all the way up to almost 1600 megahertz, but subject to two caveats. Number one, this farming back of 687 megahertz will not happen in one go. It will happen in a staggered fashion till 2028. And even then, the question then remains that there is still a deficit of north of 400 megahertz. That is something Jyotiraditya Scindia today assured that is something that the government is working on and will meet that 2000 megahertz target by 2030.
All right, Ashmit, many thanks for joining us. Let's talk about the big earnings of the day. Wipro announced a healthy set of numbers for Q3, meeting street expectations on all parameters. Constant currency revenue growth came in at 0.1%. That's higher than its guidance. It also announced a change in its capital allocation policy to increase the payout to 70% or more of three-year profit. Well, that's Wipro for you. And here's another CNBC TV18 exclusive. The Mahindra Group has received 104 crore rupees as incentive claims for FY24 under the Auto PLI scheme. Sources tell us that the incentive claims were for the sale of electric three-wheeler cargo and passenger vehicles. At least 6 workers have been trapped after a coal hopper collapsed at Dalmia Bharat cement plant in Orissa. The company said that some workers are still unaccounted for. It added that the coal hopper was being operated by a third-party vendor. The large iron structure was being used to service a captive power plant at the facility. Food delivery giant Zomato has withdrawn its decision to impose an extra fee for vegetarian food deliveries. Now, this comes after a user on LinkedIn criticized the policy, calling it Zomato's latest masterstroke. CEO Dipinder Goyal apologized on LinkedIn, saying, and I quote, "This is absolutely stupid on our part. I'm super sorry for this. The charge will be removed today itself." End of quote. Logistics service provider Delivery has launched Rapid Commerce, a 2-hour delivery service for brands to fulfill order deliveries faster. The service, which was started in Bengaluru, is processing 300 deliveries a day. Speaking to CNBC TV18, the Chief Operating Officer Ajit Pai said the firm will expand the service to other metros in the coming months. Take a look.
Objective is to scale this service very quickly over the next few months to all of the metros to begin with. We've started with Bengaluru, as you mentioned, and we believe that the first first outlook will be to scale this quickly to all of the metros within a period of a few months.
Well, that's Delivery. Now, Prime Minister Modi kicked off India's biggest auto show in Delhi and pitched India as an investment destination. About 34 manufacturers showcasing over 100 new launches to the public. Maruti Suzuki unveiled its first electric vehicle, the e-Vitara. The SUV will be launched in March and will be manufactured at Suzuki's Gujarat plant. Hyundai Motor launched the new Creta Electric, which will be priced at about 18 lakh rupees. The SUV offers a range of up to 473 kilometers on a single go. Suzuki Motorcycle India unveiled its first electric scooter, the e-Access, along with a flex fuel sports bike. The e-Access offers a top speed of 71 kilometers per hour and comes with a portable charger. Speaking at the Expo, the Prime Minister said the country's EV market will grow 8-fold by 2030.
अनुमान है कि इस दशक के अंत तक भारत में इलेक्ट्रिक व्हीकल्स की संख्या 8 गुना तक बढ़ सकती है। ये दिखाता है कि इस सेगमेंट में आपके लिए कितनी ज्यादा संभावनाएं बढ़ रही है। अपने तीसरे टर्म में हम पीएम ई ड्राइव स्कीम लेकर आए हैं। इसके तहत 2 व्हीलर, 3 व्हीलर, ई एम्बुलेंस, ई ट्रक ऐसे करीब 28 लाख ईवीज खरीदने के लिए मदद दी जाएगी। करीब 14,000 इलेक्ट्रिक बसें भी खरीदी जाएगी।
Well, that's the Prime Minister at the Auto Expo. We will head into a break, but up next, Israeli cabinet is set to vote on the much-anticipated Gaza ceasefire deal today. That and more when we return. Israeli media reports that the cabinet is set to vote on the much-anticipated Gaza ceasefire deal today. This even as the country's far-right security minister threatened to quit if the deal goes through. NBC News' Danielle joins us from Tel Aviv. Danielle, will the ceasefire deal meet the cabinet's approval?
It is widely expected to go ahead. Of course, this meeting and this vote was expected yesterday morning. There's been a 24-hour delay. The Israeli government saying yesterday that Hamas was making last-minute concessions. The Israeli line was that there were a few issues, among them the identities of the Palestinian prisoners to be released in exchange for the hostages, something that Hamas denied, saying that they were still committed to the agreement. Critics of Benjamin Netanyahu's government were saying that this was the prime minister scrambling to keep his fragile coalition together after his far-right national security minister, Itamar Ben-Gvir, threatened to quit if this ceasefire deal goes ahead. So he will not be supporting it. But even without Ben-Gvir's support, this vote and this deal can proceed. And so, as you mentioned, they are meeting today. The exact timings is still to be clarified exactly, but after this, the government then needs to vote. Now, this is usually done in person, but in the last hour or so, the Minister of Internal Affairs is now asking the government to do this vote over the phone. So that things can proceed more quickly, because if this government vote, as has been reported in Israeli media, only happens tomorrow, you know what will happen, that the ceasefire that was supposed to start on Sunday will then be moved by a day to Monday, because don't forget, there is now the issue of the Israeli public being given 48 hours to appeal or submit an objection to the Supreme Court in terms of which Palestinian prisoners are to be released. So they need to be given this chance. But for the family members of the hostages, there is frustration that for the sake of bureaucracy and formalities, this can take an extra day or two.
Daniel there reporting from Tel Aviv. Now, short video streaming platform Tik Tok may go fully dark in the US on Sunday. That is the day when the deadline for its Chinese owner to divest its ownership or cease operations comes to an end. Existing users would be legally able to continue using TikTok, but the app would become unusable over time. A White House spokesperson said outgoing President Joe Biden had no plans to intervene in the matter. This means that the ball is now in President Trump's court, and his administration has to take a call on whether they want TikTok to continue their operations in the US.
TikTok is getting ready to shut its US operations on Sunday when a federal ban is set to take effect. That's according to Reuters sources. A law signed in April mandates the ban unless Chinese owner ByteDance divests US operations for the social media platform. Policymakers in Washington say the app is a threat to national security because of its vast troves of data on 170 million American users. That's something the firm has always denied. Now, users who already have the app could theoretically still use TikTok after the ban. However, the law also bars US companies from providing services to distribute, maintain or update it. Donald Trump could yet have a say in the matter, though.
You know, I have a warm spot in my heart for TikTok because I won youth by 34 points.
The president-elect is due to be sworn in a day after the ban takes effect. The Washington Post says he is considering issuing an executive order to suspend a shutdown for 60 to 90 days. There was no immediate comment from the Trump transition team, and the man himself has said he should have time after taking office to pursue a resolution to the issue. Speaking on Fox News, incoming National Security Advisor Mike Waltz called TikTok a fantastic platform. He said the new administration would find a way to preserve it while also protecting people's data. A White House spokesman said President Joe Biden had no plans to intervene in the matter during his final days in office. Meanwhile, the Supreme Court is weighing an appeal from ByteDance, but legal experts say justices look minded to uphold the ban. The Reuters sources say TikTok will allow US users to download all their data before the app goes offline there. But users around the world could also face a shutdown, with the app reliant on hundreds of data service providers located within the United States, who soon won't be able to work with it.
Well, the countdown is on. What will be the future for Tik Tok? All will be revealed perhaps by Sunday. With that, it is time for us to wrap up this edition of Business 360. The news will continue right here on CNBC TV 18. Stay tuned. We're back in a moment with more.